All right, welcome in everyone to the Mercer County Football Show here on WBCB1490.com. Mike Samsel, George O'Gorman back with you for week 2. Pleasure to be with you again here on WBCB1490.com. Our show, as always, is brought to you by St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton, and also the Trentonian. Check them out online at Trentonian.com. George, one game in week 1 throughout Mercer County. Allentown handled Steiner. And the two things that we expected to happen in week 1 happened. Allentown showed their strength, and Steiner showed some of their struggles.
Yeah, well, Steiner, it was unfortunate. I mean, it was a close game for a half, and then Allentown put together a string in the third quarter where they scored 3 touchdowns in a span of, I think, 6-7 minutes. Mm-hmm. And that was it. Steiner really couldn't move the ball. This game was close in the beginning. It was a botched punt. Steiner punted from deep in its own end of the field, and the ball was kind of shanked, and it only went a couple yards. Allentown recovered and scored in 2 plays. And, after that, Steiner did have a long pass that possibly could have gotten them the early touchdown, but went incomplete. And then Allentown just wore him down. Steiner's line is big, as Dan Caruso had indicated, and but there's some inexperience there. Mm-hmm. They've only got 2 starters back, and once they iron it out, maybe it's good in a way, but they're off this week. They're the only CVC team that doesn't play this week, and it'll give them an opportunity to get some things together on the line, and they'll come back the following weekend, and I believe they play at Trenton. So, Allentown, as I spoke to Jay Graber, they graduated a lot of kids last year, a lot of very good players. Nick Palladino, Frank Juba, a lot of all CBC players. Mm-hmm. But he said the kids on this team, there's a good nucleus of them returning, headed by Drew Apostolico, the quarterback. And, he said they don't want to hear that there's a rebuilding year because they feel that that's slighting them.
Right.
So I said to, Jay Graber, I said, well, you're not rebuilding, you're just reloading. And he kind of laughed and said, yeah, that's possible. Now, they go to Utah this weekend. They play in Alta, Utah, out near Salt Lake City on Saturday. And then they're back in the area to play their neighboring rival in the Burlington County League, New Egypt, the following Friday. So, it's still, the jury's still out a little bit on Allentown, but this isn't a bad team, and Jay does a nice job. They can throw the ball, they can run the ball, and they're not bad.
No, not at all. Apostolico, their quarterback, and also in the backfield, Davion Thomas and Jake Alessi. They certainly have some talent back there.
Yeah, Jake Alessi, it's a nice 1-2 punch that they can run with, and they got some receivers that can catch the ball. Mm-hmm. So, anybody that thinks that Allentown was wiped out by the graduation losses, that's not the case, because this team can definitely cause some troubles among teams in the West Jersey Football League.
Yeah, we got a lot of games coming up for you in Mercer County this week. Jewish holiday coming up on Friday. So everything in Mercer County this week is on a Thursday. We got some Thursday night football for you throughout the CVC on WBCB 1490 on the WBCB Sports Network, 107.7 The Bronx, actually. It will be Notre Dame taking on Central Bucks South. Little change for you. Don't forget, that game was scheduled for a 7 o'clock kickoff. It is now moved to 4 o'clock. So it's very important. Make sure you adjust your schedules. Trentonian pregame show will start at 3:45 on 107.7 The Bronx and 107.7 TheBronx.com. But most of Mercer County kicking off this week, kicking off on a Thursday. Now we're really going to start to get a feel for the league.
Yeah, well, opening day, it's a Thursday, because of the Jewish holiday. We're... I guess that comes at sundown on Friday. Mm-hmm. So there's no games Saturday, and all the majority of the games, well, all the games in Mercer County in our listening area are going to be either Thursday afternoon or Thursday night. And there's a couple of good matchups there. You got a Hopewell Valley at Hamilton game. That has the makings to be a very competitive game, especially with Austin Fellows at quarterback. Hopewell Valley looks like it could be a major contender. Among the other games that's very interesting is West Windsor South under new coach Skip Edwards coming in and going to Bill Harvin Field over at Trenton High to take on the Tornadoes, who are under Tariq Holman. So of the 4 new coaches in this Mercer County for this coming football season, 2 of them face off in the opening game, and that should be very competitive. Tariq Holman, former All-State player up at Randolph in North Jersey, then played at the University of Iowa, had a brief stint with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers until he hurt his leg, has coached at some very good schools. He was an assistant coach at New Brunswick when they were one of the number 1 or top 5 teams in the state, with the kid that went to Southern Cal and is now, I think, with the Carolina Panthers. I forget his name right now. Derek Holman, I think, or Holloway.
Derek Holloway.
Holloway. Then he went on to South Brunswick. Was head coach at South Brunswick for a year. Coached at Montgomery last year, and now he takes over a Trenton program. And talking to him a few days ago, he's very impressed. The Tornadoes typically have a big line, and I think the one thing that I've heard from a lot of the people around the Trenton High camp is that this is a well-disciplined team. He had summer workouts. He averaged 55 kids a workout.
Wow. And
he said that during the heat of that summer, that was certainly not a problem for the Tornadoes. They've got some speed. They've got size. And the only thing that they're missing is Zaire Clemens, the number 1 quarter-miler in the state the last 2 years, has opted to give up football, which was his, I guess, calling card when he first arrived at Trenton High, because there were, with his speed, there was big-time potential. But he feels that, now his track career is skyrocketing. I mean, he's getting some major offers from some of the major programs in the United States, especially down in the Southeast Conference, places like Miami and the Florida schools. And
right.
So Zaire Clemens, I mean, he would make a big-time college and, who knows, professional receiver because of his speed. Nobody can stay with him. But he's opted to give it up and concentrate entirely on track, which is good, because that's really his ticket to an outstanding collegiate career and after.
We'll step aside and take a quick time out here on the Mercer County Football Show. Come back on the other side. Check out the slate of games coming up this week in Mercer County. Mike Samsel, George O'Gorman. We'll be right back.
St. Francis Medical Center ranked number 1 in Mercer County for patient safety. A recent article in Consumer Reports titled "How Safe is Your Hospital?" ranked St. Francis Medical Center in the top 10 hospitals in New Jersey for patient safety, and it was the only hospital in Mercer County to reach the top 10. This article from Consumer Reports provides a ranking by state in the categories of infections, readmissions, communication, and scanning, and Consumer Reports ranks St. Francis Medical Center in the top 10 in all of New Jersey for patient safety, and the number 1 hospital in Mercer County, St. Francis Medical Center.
Welcome back to the Mercer County Football Show here on WBCB1490.com. Mike Samsel, George O'Gorman. Show brought to you by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton, and also by the Trentonian. Check them out online at Trentonian.com. We only had one game to talk about this time last week. Well, this time we have mostly a full slate. Game number 1.
One of the bigger weekends that I can recall, with everybody in the CVC is playing this Thursday, with the exception of, Allentown's playing on Saturday,
right,
and Steiner is idle.
Yeah.
So actually it's the first of 2 byes that the Spartans get this year, but it's a full slate, and because it's odd being on a Thursday afternoon, makes it interesting.
Yeah, that it certainly does. Game number 1 coming up for you on the WBCB Sports Network, starting with the Trentonian pregame show at 3:45, live from Central Bucks South High School. It is a Cross River rivalry. I didn't get high school out right, but somehow I got Cross River rivalry out somehow. It'll be Central Bucks South taking on Notre Dame, and could be a tough trip here for the Irish.
Could be, especially trying to contain Josh Adams, the outstanding running back, who's being recruited, from what I understand, high on the list of Penn State. In his opening game against Council Rock North, I think it was, he had South. He had 4 touchdowns. 3 of them were 40 yards or longer.
Yeah, one from 80, one from 55.
Another one from 40, and he had another one 11 yards. But last week, CB South took on Downing Coatesville, defending PIA state champs, and got handled there. So now they're taking on a Notre Dame team. It's going to be interesting because it'll be the third game for CB South, the opener for Notre Dame. The Irish, we'll see what they can do. They're running the pistol offense this year. Chappie Moore's come in with the pistol. They've got Rob McCoven back at quarterback. They've got Lorenzo Bryant, the outstanding young back who had about 700 yards last year. Nico Sparrow, remember, he's a pretty good running back too.
Yeah.
They might be hurt a little bit because Craig Monahan, who was one of their up-and-coming wide receivers last year, opted not to play. Well, he couldn't play baseball this summer with the Mercer East Hightstown Babe Ruth team because he has elbow problems, or I guess it's elbow problems.
Right.
So he's opted to give up, football and concentrate on baseball. And without him, the Irish are going to, try to fit the pieces in and come up with another good passing game. They usually run a well-balanced offense. They've got a good defense, some veteran people coming back. Mike Balazzo's in there. We saw him last year. He'll be playing a combination linebacker, defensive end. And I think there's only one or two guys on the Notre Dame team that are going both ways. So we'll see how Notre Dame's defense can handle, Josh Adams. Talking to Chappie, when he saw them play against Council Rock, he came away impressed. He said that Adams is probably one of the fastest high school athletes he's ever seen run the football.
Right.
So we're going to see how the Irish can handle that. And I guess it won't be. It may be the second game for CB South at their field up. They're up in Warrington, aren't they? Up off 611.
Yep.
So it'd be a big test for the Irish. Fortunately, it's outside the league, and it's tough when you stop and think about it. The last couple of games that Notre Dame has played, you saw the NJSI playoff game last year where they got throttled, 64-0 by Bergen Catholic. Then they came back the day after Thanksgiving and played that excellent game with Nottingham, which scored late to beat them, and now to finish the season last year for the Irish at 5-5. Now they come back to play one of the top backs in the state of Pennsylvania in CB South. That's a tough three-game lineup for the Irish.
Yeah, it certainly is. Probably the second game of the week, if you will. The next best game, we'll see Nottingham, the North Stars, coming back as defending state champions. They will be taking on the Hightstown Rams at Hightstown. Interesting game because you see Nottingham coming out. It'll be their first game of the season, and Hightstown is always that team that seems to be coming. And the question is, when are they going to be here?
Well, they weren't bad last year. I mean, Dustin Coleman threw for, I think he led the CVC Mercer County quarterbacks in yardage. I think he threw for about 1,200 yards. He's got some receivers, but Pete Brush's club, Nottingham just appears to have too many weapons.
Yeah.
They got Steven Adams at quarterback. They got Rawway Williams who can run the ball. I'm looking for Rawway Williams to have a big year this year. He's a powerful kid. I was impressed when we saw him as a sophomore. In fact, he took off. I remember talking to him after a game, and he had taken off his game jersey and just had his pads on. His upper body strength was amazing. I mean, he's really a powerful runner. And they've got a few other backs that we saw last year in Nottingham's run to the Central Jersey title who really stepped in when they were called upon and can pick up some yardage. So, Steven Adams can throw the ball. They got an excellent defense. Ryan Malagrino is back, who was their leading, probably their leading tackler, or at least I think he was a leader in sacks last year. So they've got some excellent weapons, Nottingham, and it'll be an interesting matchup. Hightstown's going to need to protect Coleman. If they can give him some passing time, he might be able to throw the ball a little bit on the Nottingham secondary, which, with Saquon Hampton back there already committed to Rutgers, is one of the top. He's listed among the top 20 defensive backs in the state of New Jersey.
Yeah,
so that'll be a big game for the North Star secondary.
Yeah, it'll certainly be an interesting game to keep an eye on. We already talked about West Windsor, Plainsboro South, and Trenton. Princeton takes on Northern Burlington, another one of the good quarterbacks. This may end up being the year of the quarterback here in Mercer County.
This is an interesting matchup, and it's amazing when you think about it. Northern Burlington has gone to the Central Jersey Group 3 playoffs the last 2 years. 2 years ago, they were the top seed and got knocked off by Neptune. both years they've opened the season with a loss to Princeton.
Yeah.
Charlie Caldwell's ball club, this is, they got some weapons, but they're basically a young team. Saltzman's going to be the quarterback, and he's also the linebacker.
Yeah.
That's a weird combination to have.
Yeah,
The
sure
quarterback
is.
also playing middle linebacker. But Princeton debuted, but they had a scrimmage last week against Robbinsville and kind of handled Robbinsville fairly well. So who knows? I mean, if Princeton can get the three-peat and knock off Northern Burlington for the third straight year, that would really be a heck of a way for the new Princeton coach to make his debut. But, it's going to be tough. Robbinsville is also down in Burlington County Thursday night taking on Bordentown.
Mm-hmm.
And Bordentown is always a dangerous ball club. And I think the Scotties would have to be a definite favorite in that game.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting game to keep an eye on. Irving Fryer making his high school coaching debut. Next up, Ewing takes on Cinnaminson. That one will be down in Burlington County as well. Going to be interesting to see what Drew Bessler has with his team.
Yeah, they lost a lot through graduation, but Bessler's been impressed from what I've been able to get from talking to some of the coaches and reading some of the preseason stories. Mm-hmm. He's been impressed with the way that the Ewing defense has been playing. So that'll be a big matchup for the Ewing Blue Devils hitting on the road and going down there to play in Burlington County at Cinnaminson. And one of two games involving Mercer County teams, well, actually CVC teams playing in the WJFL down in Burlington County, because you've also got West Windsor North under Chris Casamento debuting at Rancocas Valley. Rancocas Valley is always a major contender, although they really haven't dominated, or put the quote, dominated,
right,
the WJFL's Colonial Division.
Yeah, they're kind of a team without a home. It's interesting because they're right in between there, between Mercer and Burlington County.
But they're one of the larger schools
Yeah.
in the conference, and they're in that division where they play up here with the two Windsors, Notre Dame and Trenton. I don't know. It's going to be tough on West Windsor North to handle Rancocas Valley, which is ranked among the top 25 teams in all of southern New Jersey.
Yeah.
And that's a plus for the Mount Holly Ball Club.
Yeah, a lot of talent coming back on that team. Pemberton taking on Lawrence. This is another big year for Lawrence. A lot of talent back this year.
Should be a great year for Lawrence. I got the feeling that Rob Radis, Rob's been around a few years now, although he doesn't seem to age, but he's got a real nice ball club there. He's got Nick Falkenberg, the quarterback. He's got Cameron Kitchen, who can run the ball, and of course he's got Samai Mitchell back for the fourth year actually, as the senior. Had over 1,000 yards. I think he was the number 2 or 3 rusher in Mercer County last year. And they've got some weapons on defense. They've got some size, and they got some speed. And they also got the return of Anthony Amarada as the defensive coordinator for the Cardinals. Mm-hmm. And they take on a Pemberton team that always, despite its size, really never materializes in the WJFL. But I think Lawrence is pumped up. They've had a good preseason with scrimmages against some very good ball clubs. And Nick Falkenberg should be one of the top, I'd say among the top 4 quarterbacks in the Colonial Valley Conference in Mercer County this coming season. So that's an excellent opener. And then, of course, right after that, the Cardinals they're home the following weekend, too, to host Florence.
Yeah,
and
that should be a great game.
That's always an interesting matchup when Joe Frappoli, anytime he brings his perennial state Central Jersey Group 1 contending Florence Flashes into the Trenton area to take on one of the Mercer County teams, that should be an excellent matchup. Florence opens up this week. I didn't get a chance to look at their schedule. Or no, they're playing New Egypt. That's right.
Yeah.
They're playing New Egypt on, I think it's Friday night.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye out for that game as well. Last game we'll have for you here on the slate this week should be a great one over in Hamilton at Hamilton West. Hopewell Valley. It's going to be interesting to see what that team looks like. New offensive coordinator Todd Smith, Austin Fellows back for another year. They'll be taking on the Hornets, another team that'll be interesting to see what they have. This should be kind of a benchmark game for both teams to see what they have in the cupboard.
I guess some of the old timers would probably say, well, Hamilton's got to be favored in this game, but I don't necessarily think that may be the case. From what I heard, the Hornets have been respectable. They haven't dominated in their scrimmages. Austin Fellows is he's a big quarterback. He goes around 6'3", 6'4", can throw the ball.
Yep.
And Dave Caldwell does an excellent job, and he's been doing it since he built that Hopewell Valley program. And with Todd Smith there, I'm sure they're going to run some unique offensive plays. They got some running backs, and primarily they're a passing team, and they'll have some weapons that can throw the ball. And it'd be interesting to see how they handle the Hamilton pass rush, if Hamilton can even get a pass rush.
Yeah, it'll certainly be interesting. We'll be keeping an eye on that game as well. George and I are going to step aside now, take a quick time out. We'll come back on the other side and wrap things up for Week 1 of the Mercer County Football Show here on WBCB1490.com. We'll be right back.
The Gator Jerry Blavitt. And are you looking for the best local news coverage, the best sports coverage, both Philly and New York sports, and the best high school coverage? Then look no further than the Trentonian. It's the only local newspaper covering Mercer, Bucks, and Burlington counties 7 days a week. No one does it better than the Trentonian. It's coverage you can count on 7 days a week from Levittown to Burlington, Hamilton to Florence, Trenton to Newtown. It's the Trentonian.
Back one final time here on the Mercer County Football Show on WBCB1490.com. Mike Samsel, George O'Gorman. George, we're looking for an interesting week this week. Week 1, for the most part, in Mercer County.
Yeah, I know it's only the first game of the season for all these ball clubs except Allentown, but it's an opportunity to hear. We've heard a lot about some of these ball clubs that should have pretty good seasons. Now it's time to put up or shut up, as they say,
Yeah.
Some interesting matchups, as we said. Hightstown and Nottingham. Nottingham coming off that Mercer County's first state championship in 32 years last December. It doesn't even seem like it was that far away. That long past, but
right.
John Adams got another excellent ball club. I mean, he's got all the bases covered on this team. They've got a good defense. Brian Bouchon and Saquon Hampton in the secondary. They've got Rawway Williams to run the ball. They've got a few other guys that can run the ball. And they got Steven Adams that can throw the ball. And they got some receivers.
Yeah.
And, that'll be a good test. And we'll see if this, if Hightstown can possibly pull the upset, which would be a big upset, and at least stay close. Pete Bresh's ball club can be a serious contender this year.
Yeah, they certainly could.
Game I'm going to be doing, and I'm interested in it, is seeing West Windsor South at Trenton. It's been a traditional opener. The Tornadoes in the past have always hurt themselves by, breaking the neutral zone, going offside, making really ridiculous penalties. Last year they were in the game for a while with West Windsor South, and then it just got away from them in the second half. But playing over there at Trenton on Thursday afternoon, it'd be a good matchup for the Tariq Holman and the Tornadoes. They're pumped up. I mean, there's a lot of enthusiasm at Trenton High. Speaking to some of the administrators, they're excited about Tariq, and they feel that, let's face it, Trenton has always been the biggest school in the CVC, and it's always had some of the, biggest players, but they've never really materialized. They're good for a while, then they kind of fall off. Trumaine Nieves, outstanding running back, and
it's just a building too.
And and he's
huge young man.
He is huge, and he also plays linebacker. And the Trenton's got the speed, and they've got a running back that was hurt. I'm trying to think of what little fast kid. His name slips me on mind right now, but they got a nice combination of the speed breakaway runner and the power runner with Nieves, who was hurt most of last year.
Right.
Can't think of the kid's name that's the running back, but he ended up hurting his collarbone early in the season last year and missed the final half of the season. But that should be an interesting matchup.
It wasn't Ryan Wheaton, was it?
I don't know. I have to check that out.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of excitement over there at at Tornado Land, and
yeah,
we'll see how they can do. But as I said, that should be a very good matchup with a West Windsor South team that a lot of people are writing off, but don't necessarily, count them out. Skip's done an outstanding job. He's been coaching over 30 years at a number of schools in the in the Shore Conference.
Good quarterback there too, and Andrew Schopner.
And he's got a. Remember when he came into Hightstown, he had a couple of playoff teams at Hightstown when he was there back in the early '90s, or no, late '90s into 2000, and they had a couple of 7-win seasons.
Yeah.
So, Skip's pretty high on this ball club, and he feels that, the Hightstown Rams, or excuse me, the West Windsor South Pirates can do some things. So we'll see. It's a good opener for both clubs. I'm not saying South in a rebounding year, but want to continue, in what they had the last couple of years when they had Brian Schoenauer. But, of course, he's gone. And maybe a little bit more balanced of an offense this coming season. And Trenton, one of these years, Trenton's going to put it all together and surprise people. Maybe this will be the year.
Very well could be. The WBCB Sports Network will be on the air, starting with the Trentonian pregame show at 3:45 on Thursday afternoon. Make sure you make the change, as it will be Notre Dame taking on Central Bucks South. A big thanks to the St. Francis Medical Center, allowing us to be with you every week. St. Francis, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton, and also the Trentonian. For George, I'm Mike. We'll see you next week here on the Mercer County Football Show.